Before you spend $400 on a cooler, look at the names. Yeti, RTIC, Igloo, Pelican. 4 brands, 4 price tags, and not one of them is still owned by the people who built it. By the end of this video, you will know which coolers on that shelf are worth your money and which one handed its investors 26 times what they put in. Here is what I found. Start with the thing nobody puts on the box. Yeti does not own a single factory. Not one. Their own website says the Tundra Hard coolers are built in the USA at plants in Iowa and Wisconsin, and also at a plant in the Philippines. The Hopper Soft coolers and the Rambler drinkware are made in China. Every one of those plants belongs to somebody else. So the $400 box is not a factory selling you its work. It is a brand hiring the same kind of contractor the cheap brands hire, and you cannot tell from the shelf whether your Tundra came out of Iowa or came off a boat. Nothing on it says. Before we go further, here is what actually makes a cooler hold ice, because part of that price is real. 3 things. Wall thickness, because insulation is just trapped air and it needs somewhere to sit. A rotomolded shell, which means the body is formed in one seamless piece with no joins to leak heat through, and a gasket that genuinely seals. That is it. Those 3 things are the difference between a week of ice and 2 days of it. Everything above them is latches, cup holders, colors, and the logo. Let us start the countdown. Number 7, Yeti. Roy and Ryan Cider started it in Austin, Texas in 2006, and by 2011 they had built it to around $40 million a year. Then they went looking for a partner. So here's what happened. They found Cortec Group, a private equity firm in New York, which took majority control. 6 years later, on the 29th of October 2018, Yeti went public at $18 a share. Cortec sold down through 2019 and 2020 and into 2021 and walked away clean. The reported return on that investment was more than 26 times the money they put in. That is where $400 goes. Not into a factory, not to the brothers, into a fund. And every cheaper cooler you have ever reached for instead has heard from Yeti's lawyers. Number 6, RTIC. Twin brothers. Jim and John Jacobson started it in Houston in 2015 with one promise printed on everything they sold. Overbuilt, not overpriced. It was the anti-Yeti, and it worked. Yeti sued them. On February 2nd, 2017, the 2 sides settled, and RTIC had to make a payment to Yeti, stop selling the products in dispute, and redesign them. Then here's what happened. On September 2nd, 2020, a Chicago private equity firm called Windpoint Partners bought RTIC and installed an outside chief executive, a career consumer products man who came out of 16 years at LL Bean. The brand that exists because Yeti got expensive is now run out of the same playbook. The oldest name in the aisle went the other way entirely. Number 5, Igloo, the red and white cooler in the back of every American pickup since the 1940s. Made in Texas in Igloo's own plant, with 1,100 people working in it. So here's what happened. On the 17th of September 2021, the Swedish company Dometic agreed to buy Igloo for $677 million, with an earnout worth up to $223 million more on top. The seller was a private equity firm called ICON Investments. The most American cooler on the shelf now reports to Stockholm, and the next one reports somewhere you have heard before, if you watch my Rod video. Number 4, Pelican, founded in 1976 in Torrance, California, and for decades the case that protected everything from hunting rifles to parts for the Hubble telescope. Their coolers are made in America, and they are genuinely tough. I am not going to pretend otherwise. Here is what happened. Pelican is owned by Platinum Equity. If that name rang a bell, it should. Platinum Equity is the same firm that took over GSM Outdoors, the group that owns Dobyns Rods. I corrected that one on camera in an earlier video. Same firm, different aisle, and sometimes the ownership question is not about the price at all. Sometimes it is about whether the company is still there next year. Number 3, Orca. Built in Tennessee, made in America, and for years the cooler people bought precisely because it was not a Yeti. Here is what happened. In 2020, a holding company called McNeil Pride Group bought Orca. 2 years later, that holding company renamed itself Gather Outdoors. And on the 24th of January, 2025, purchasing and marketing at Orca simply stopped. That July, the brand posted its own goodbye. No bankruptcy filing, a quiet wind down. You can still find them, cheap, because dealers are clearing stock they cannot reorder. That is exactly the problem. A lifetime warranty is only worth as much as the company standing behind it. Which brings us to the cheapest box on the shelf and the strangest owner of the lot. Number 2, Ozark Trail. Walk into any Walmart and it is the wall of coolers at a fraction of everything around it. And here is what most people never think about. Ozark Trail is not a company. It is a private label brand owned by Walmart itself. Walmart does not build them. Third-party factories do, overseas, predominantly in China. Walmart sets the price, picks the range, and puts its own name on the result. Yeti sued them too, back in 2018. Over tumblers, Yeti said copied the Rambler. It is not that Ozark Trail is bad for the money. It is that the cheap option and the shop are one company, and there is nobody else left in that transaction. And the last one should bother you most, because it has been here the longest. And number 1, Coleman. W.C. Coleman started it in 1900 as the hydrocarbon light company, renting light to rural Americans before the power lines ever reached them. In 1905, a Coleman lamp lit the first night football game west of the Mississippi. Soldiers parachuted into Europe with Coleman stoves in their packs. 45 million lanterns sold. So here is what happened. Coleman went to Sunbeam, then to Jarden, then to Newell Brands. The head office moved out of Wichita to Chicago. Newell also owns Sharpie, and Rubbermaid, and Yankee Candle. 126 years of American outdoor history filed next to a marker pen. So that is the shelf. Here is what I would actually put in the truck. First, Grizzly, made in Decorah, Iowa by a company called Iowa Rotocast Plastics. 30 years of rotational molding, and they own the machines. Read that back, because it is the whole point of this video. Yeti owns no factories. Grizzly is a factory. You are paying for the molding instead of the marketing. Bear certified, lifetime warranty, and it costs less than the box it is beating. Second, Orion. Built in Tennessee by Jackson Adventures, the company Olympic kayaker Eric Jackson started in 2004 making whitewater boats. The cooler line arrived in 2014. In one independent test of 28 coolers, the Orion held ice 2 full days longer than the rotomolded names it was up against. I did not run that test. Somebody else did, and you can go and read it yourself. Third, ICON. 2 childhood friends who grew up on the Chesapeake Bay started it in 2012, and it is still owned by that family today. No holding company, no fund. Their hard coolers are designed, sourced, and built in the United States, out of Wilmington, North Carolina. Nobody has bought them. That is the whole recommendation. Here is the check, and it takes about a minute. Go to the brand's own website and scroll to the footer, or open the privacy policy. That is where the legal entity has to be named. If what you find there is a fund, a holding company, or a name you have never heard of, you now know where your money is going. Next time I am going back to the line aisle because there are 2 brands you keep telling me about in the comments, and I have been through their paperwork. Here is what I found.